Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be recapping my round 5 game that I played in the Southern California Open. Now going into this game I was at 2.5 out of 4, and in the 5th round I am playing a 2147 rated player. Now we started off the game by playing e45 and he played the Petrov. Now I'll be honest, I do not advise high. Okay, I know I'm like the low rated one here, but I don't advise high rated players to play the Petrov, especially against low rated players, because I then play this line Queen E2 and it's incredibly dry. For this one reason, that's why I don't recommend it, because already we trade off the queens and it's very hard to win for both sides. Now you guys will see if that's the case later. It's still a game, but it's gonna be really hard. So all this happens. He attacks my bishop. I just develop all my pieces, and eventually we reach this symmetrical structure where everything is literally the same, except it's white's move first. So I go bishop f4. He goes bishop e6. I bring my rook in, and here he goes g5. Now I think he's trying to maybe get some king g7, g4. Because he wants to create some sort of imbalance. Since he's the higher rated player, he's going to try and take more risks. And that is the recommended when you're a higher rated player. Bishop e3, and here he tries to go here. I then trade off another pair of knights and bishop g7. Now already I am thinking I go bishop f3, and after rook a b8, now I start to think of whether I should take the knight or not. Because I thought about this for a little bit. After knight d5, I then can trade, take rook e7, knight, and I thought about knight e6 there, and maybe some sort of like maybe a4. That's what I was thinking. It's equal material, it's opposite colored bishops, this should be fine. But I'm like, why? And I was thinking like, why do this? Like, because he can actually just go bishop d8, maybe, and keep the bishops. I can go bishop g4 here. But I just don't want to allow him with any sort of anything he could have with like c6, something like that. So I just do something simple. I double up the rooks. We trade off a pair of rooks, and here he goes king f8. Now I find a move that it allows a lot of trades. So I go knight d5. I attack the pawn. Now maybe he could have went knight e8. Actually, I think maybe knight e8 was, but not really, because now I can actually get my rook in, and it can be a bit dangerous at some points. And so I go knight d5, he takes, which I think is like the best move. I can trade and go bishop d5, and now I'm threatening to go rook e7, so either he has to go rook e8 and give up a pawn, which is not good, or he has to move his king. Now he went king f8. I originally thought he wanted to go king f6, but king f8 is totally fine. I go d4, and I want to put my pawns on dark squares so his bishop cannot attack. I go bishop e4, bishop d3, and we trade off a pair of rooks, and goes bishop f5, c3, c5. Now, I've already breezed through this game quite quickly because there's not really a lot to go through here. We were playing a little bit more faster. And here, if I want to get an easy draw, I probably should just play f3. And the point is, if takes, take, and he cannot, I don't think he could break through. He cannot break through the structure. And this is, I could just always go bishop c4 here. If something like this, I can always trade off the bishops if I want, because he's never going to have, this is just a draw. He's never going to have anything here. Although he might, actually, because, yeah, okay, so apparently king f4, but maybe not trade off the bishops now, but he cannot break through. Like, something like this here, he's never going to break through. Maybe I can go b4 to stop him from going king a5, although that's not really needed because I can just bring the king in. Because wherever the king goes, I'll just follow wherever the king goes. And if he goes ventures off too far, I just check. And yeah, if I want to get a simple draw, I can do that. But it seems like I don't want to get a simple draw, and I take the pawn. Now, taking the pawn is still totally fine, but the problem with this is now his king is more active than mine. And this gives him a bit more winning chance. It gives him something to play for. And I play g4, which gives him another thing to play for, which is this weak h3 pawn. What I should have done was probably just go bishop c4 and bishop f1, and just move my bishop back and forth in this diagonal, and he cannot do anything. He cannot use his pawns to break through. He has to use his king, and if he ventures off too far, maybe I can trade off the bishops, then go for the king side stuff. And yeah, it's just a draw. But once I played g4, I immediately regretted my decision because this pawn, it's kind of weak, and there is a way he can get to the pawn. So I gave him something to play for. Now I go bishop f1, a5, everything's fine. f6, he's waiting. He's playing the waiting game, seeing if I do something, and he'll probably play f5 at one point. His last chance to maybe try something is f5 or h5, and I wait, and he goes h5 to go h4 and cement this pawn as a forever weakness. And here I make a pretty dumb move. I make a series of really dumb moves. I put my pawns on the same color bishop as him, and he goes f5, and to my horror, I realized that I lost this game. I lost this game from this position. Unbelievable. Like, this is I shouldn't even have allowed all of this to happen. Now, okay, I played bishop f1 in the game, but I'll tell you why f5 is losing, because there's a few lines here you have to know. So let's just say if I take the pawn and trade off the bishops. Now, what I first thought was, okay, king e2, he can bring his king in, and you might be thinking, okay, well, everything's fine here, he has to move the king back, but he doesn't, because he has to move b6, and wherever the king goes, he's like marching in, he's gonna win my pawns. So if bishop to f1, I allow him to come over here, which is why this is so bad, because I put my pawn's same colored bishop as him, and which makes it easier, I allow him to attack my pawns, and that's not good. Now if I can go bishop e4, I was just considering bishop e4, and the point of takes, this is a draw. And actually, maybe I have something here, because I can maybe go win this pawn and push my pawn. Now, the reason why bishop e4 doesn't work is because if he takes, I'm like, okay, I can take, but this pawn doesn't really matter. Like, this pawn only really matters if I can make a passed pawn, but I cemented my pawns, and these two pawns stop my 3 pawns. And he has this extra pawn that he can just, like, push it, and he'll come over here and he can win that way. So, if I cannot do that, then I cannot take the pawn. Now, if I go something like here, and I cannot, like, ever do this, because okay, now let me make a better move. Like, okay, let's just say something like f5, bishop e2. Like, what I originally wanted was so that I can go take, and I can blockade. But I forgot that he can go over there. So I cannot do that. And if f takes, he can go bishop d7, and he can go bishop c6. And if I go here, he has this really nice move, bishop e4. And I'm in zugzwang. I have to move my king and allow him in, or I move my bishop and I allow him to take my pawn. Now, yeah, those are all the lines. So unfortunately, I am losing. I go bishop f1, and I take, and he goes bishop f7 in this position. Now, bishop f7 is still totally fine. Now, the one position I was really hoping for, because I go bishop d3 here, and okay, so what happens is he goes there, and he goes b6, which is winning. But let's just say this happens. Now, the one position I was hoping for was this position, bishop e4. And this is actually a draw, because let's just say if he puts his bishop there, I put my bishop over here, because I cannot allow him, because the 2 diagonals he has is to go here, and here so he can win this pawn, and here so he can win this pawn. Now, if he goes here, it's clear to me he can only go to one diagonal, which is this one. So I have to stop him from doing that. And wherever he goes, I can just move my bishop back, and back, and back, and back. Now, the reason why it doesn't work in this position is because it's my move first. So I have to decide which diagonal I want to go to. Now, I don't in the game, I play king f3. But let's just say if I go here, he can actually go, I believe he can go over here. Oh no, wait, he cannot. No, he can go over here now, because since I make this diagonal open for him, and the same thing happens if I try and guard. He can go bishop e4, go here, and I'm in zugzwang. Now I go king f3, which allows him to march his king in. I go here and bishop g6, so that like if king c3, like he doesn't give me anything, although this is probably still winning. So bishop g6, it's a nice move, and I resign in this position because he's winning all of my pawns. So yeah, I had like a pretty easy draw if I had played f3 here and just brought my king in, because since I allowed, so the first mistake I had was I allowed his king to come in. The second mistake I had was I gave him a weakness, which is something to play for. The third mistake, and the final mistake, is I put my pawns on the same color square as his bishop, which gave him the right opportunity to break through, and he ended up winning the game like that. Now, this is a pretty disappointing game. I was currently at 2.5 out of 5, and after this game, I was pretty upset, and I actually withdrew from the tournament because, believe it or not, I was actually getting like a lot of headaches, and I was not feeling like the best at that point in time. Plus, I was already pretty upset I lost, and I was not in the right mindset to play another game. So, I checked the rating estimator, which is what I use sometimes, and I was set to gain 4 rating points. So I'm like, why not just leave it at that? I got what I wanted. I played 3 high-rated players. Let's just leave the tournament when I have the chance, when I'm gaining rating. And I actually do gain 4 rating points. I was currently at 2,040 at that point in time. I finished the tournament with 2.5 out of 5. But there is some good news. The good news is I actually played a local tournament just last week, and I ended up winning the tournament. I got 4 out of 4, and I gained a total of 28 rating points. So from 2,040, I gained all the way up to 2,068. So I'm closing in on 2,100. The goal is to try at least to get 2,100 by the end of the year, and we'll see what I do next year. Maybe try and go for NM next year. And yeah, that's all for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a lot from this game, which is what not to do when you're in these types of endgames. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.